filming today with the new Viltrox 26mm f2.8 EVO lens. It's a beautiful day in the Nose Hill Park. The sun is shining. There are many flowers about, so I hope I can give you my initial impressions so you can get an idea of whether this lens is good for you. First things that come to mind: metal build, has a weather sealing ring in the back. The lens is pretty sharp even in the corners with just a touch of chromatic aberration. Absolutely nothing to worry about. On the body of the lens you have two rings, an aperture ring and a manual focus ring. The aperture ring goes from f2.8 to f16 and has an auto mode as well. There's no way to lock it in the auto mode, so sometimes it can be knocked out, but it hasn't really happened to me. The manual focus ring is pretty small, so when you turn the manual focus ring, you will be rubbing your fingers up against the body of the lens, but the lens is very small, so I don't think that can be helped. So let's check out the focus of this lens. When I turn it, you can see that the front element protrudes a little bit when I focus the lens. So Viltrox has designed this lens hood, and it goes on like this. It's a very small lens hood, and it protects that protruding front element when it focuses. Now, I think Viltrox wanted to keep the profile of this lens to be small, so they did design the hood in such a way that the opening is fairly small and thus accommodates a 43mm filter, which is a little bit different than Viltrox's classic 58mm filter thread that is on its Viltrox Air series lenses. On the plus side, if you're shooting video with a filter attached, you can simply pop off the hood and shoot a few photos and then go back to video shooting by putting the hood back on. Another interesting thing about the design of this hood is that you can use it with the lens cap. So the magnetic lens cap fits on the lens with or without the hood, which is pretty cool. All in all, this design keeps the profile of the lens pretty small. It has a pretty good minimum focus distance. I was out in the park the other day shooting flowers with it. It's not too close, it's not a macro lens by any means, but it does focus pretty close, so you can get some pretty cool close-up shots, and the bokeh looks pretty good. Now, I have to admit, I did try this lens with some extension tubes. Yeah, and I got some pretty interesting close-up macros with it. It's actually not too wide, so that using extension tubes with it would be impractical. You can still get a pretty decent working distance. It's not as good as a 50 or certainly not a 100mm macro lens. Obviously, it's pretty clear from this lens that it's designed as a compact and portable 26mm lens for content creation. 26mm is wide enough so that you can position your camera and tripod pretty close to you if you're doing solo vlogging. Obviously, it's not the most flattering focal length for portraits. When I'm inside, I like to use my 85mm lens, but that's not practical for solo vlogging when you need to have the camera close to you so you can operate its controls. So I think 26mm is a pretty good in-between focal length for solo vlogging. It's kind of an all-purpose content creation lens that you can use for documentary work, a little bit of travel, a little bit of landscape, a little bit of vlogging when you're on vacation. So I like the lens for that for sure. So for its price point, it performs very well, and it's a good lens for what it's made for. The only thing I really would change about the design of this lens is really that lens hood. Although the lens hood does make the lens compact even when you're using the hood, I would have appreciated a slightly larger hood to keep out the flare. Here you can see that when the sun is slightly off axis from the camera, you are getting a little bit of flare. It's not a big deal, and in these cases I can use my hand to block out the flare a little bit. But it's not really a lens that's specifically for landscape photography. Think of it as a general all-purpose vlogging lens. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this very quick summary and review of this Viltrox 26mm f2.8 EVO lens, and I'll see you again next time.